Today, we're diving into one of the most spectacular, mind-bending, and honestly pivotal moments in all of Buddhist literature. We're looking at a couple of chapters from the legendary Lotus Sutra. And this isn't just a text, it's presented as a full-on cosmic event, a profound promise, and an incredibly difficult challenge. So let's get right into it. Right from the start, the text basically warns you. The Buddha himself says that this teaching is the absolute pinnacle, but it's also the hardest one to really grasp and have faith in. So why? Well, it's because the claims it's about to make are just staggering, and it asks for a level of commitment that kind of goes beyond our normal everyday reality. Let's see what it's all about. Okay, so first up, let's talk about the promise. The Lotus Sutra isn't just another teaching. It's framed as the ultimate teaching, with rewards that are unlike anything else. And what's so wild is just how accessible this promise is. I mean, this isn't about meditating for decades on a mountaintop. The bar is set unbelievably low. All you have to do is hear one single phrase, feel a moment of genuine joy, and boom, your complete supreme enlightenment is guaranteed. That is a truly radical idea. The sutra then elevates its followers in a huge way. It says that the people who uphold this teaching aren't here by accident or because of some bad karma. No. It says they are great bodhisattvas, these highly enlightened beings who have actually chosen to be here. They've willingly left some perfect, pure existence to be reborn into our messy world for one single reason: to help other people by sharing this teaching. They're basically cosmic agents of the Buddha. And this is where it gets really nuts. The text makes a claim that would have been absolutely shocking to its original audience. Slandering the Buddha himself for an entire eon, which is an unimaginably long time, is obviously a terrible offense. But the sutra says, speaking just one harsh word to someone who teaches the Lotus Sutra is an even graver sin. And on the flip side, praising a teacher of the sutra actually generates more spiritual merit than praising the Buddha himself. The message is crystal clear. This teaching is so sacred that the person carrying it becomes just as revered. Now, as you can imagine, with a status that high comes a massive responsibility. If you're going to teach something this profound, you can't just be anybody. You have to embody the very spirit of the Buddha. So what does that actually look like? The sutra gives us this really beautiful metaphor. To teach it, first, you have to enter the Buddha's room, which just means you must have deep, abiding compassion for every single living being. Then you wear the Buddha's robe, and that represents patience and gentleness. And finally, you have to sit on the Buddha's seat, which is the wisdom of emptiness, that core understanding that nothing has a fixed independent self. It's only from that state of being that you can truly share this sutra. So you've got these unbelievable promises on one hand, and these incredibly high standards for teaching on the other. The natural, logical question for anyone listening, and for us reading it now, is, okay, this sounds amazing, but is it for real? How can we possibly know that this sutra is the ultimate word of all the Buddhas? The text sees that question coming and answers it, not with logic, but with a straight-up miracle. What happens next is one of the most famous scenes in all of Mahayana Buddhism. So forget philosophical debate, the sutra gives you proof on a cosmic scale. It offers this spectacular, undeniable validation that just shatters the boundaries of time and space. So try to picture the scene. The Buddha is teaching this huge assembly of gods, humans, all kinds of beings, and he's just made these absolutely extraordinary claims. You can just imagine the tension, the anticipation in the air. And then, a stupa, which is this kind of sacred monument. It literally bursts out of the ground. But this is no ordinary stupa. It's described as being hundreds of miles high, covered in countless jewels, and it just hangs there, suspended in midair, radiating this beautiful fragrance that fills the entire world. It's a completely impossible supernatural event. And as if the giant floating stupa wasn't enough, this massive voice echoes from inside it, for everyone there to hear. It's a voice of pure validation, confirming that everything the Buddha has just taught about the Lotus Sutra is the absolute 100% truth. But who is speaking? The Buddha explains that inside this stupa is the perfectly preserved body of another Buddha named Prahudartaratna, or Many Treasures. He lived countless eons ago in a totally different part of the universe, and he made this incredible vow that whenever and wherever the Lotus Sutra was taught, his stupa would emerge from the earth to testify to its truth. I mean, this is the ultimate endorsement, a Buddha from the distant past breaking through time itself just to say, yep, this is it. The assembly, just completely awestruck, they beg to see this ancient Buddha. But Shakyamuni Buddha explains that before he can open the door of the stupa, something else has to happen first. And it's something that will escalate the scale of this whole event from just worldly to truly cosmic. So it turns out, Shakyamuni can't open it alone. He first has to call back all of his emanations. And what that means is all the other Buddhas who are essentially extensions of himself, teaching at this very moment in millions of other worlds all across the universe. The scale of this is just, it's impossible to wrap your head around. And then the universe itself literally gets rearranged. The Buddha shoots out a ray of light, and in every direction the world is transformed. The ground becomes pure blue lapis lazuli. All the ordinary mountains and rivers and everything just vanish. Then, from every single corner of the cosmos, Buddhas begin to arrive, each one sitting under a jeweled tree, until space itself is completely filled with enlightened beings. It's a single, unified Buddha field. So with this incredible, unbelievable assembly as his witness, Shakyamuni floats up into the air and opens the stupa with just one finger. Inside, Prabhutaratna is sitting there, perfectly preserved. And then the ancient Buddha scoots over and invites Shakyamuni to sit right there beside him. So what you have is two Buddhas from two completely different eons, sharing a single throne, united by this one teaching. The message could not possibly be clearer. But this entire cosmic spectacle, the stupa, the ancient Buddha, the gathering of all the Buddhas from across the universe, it wasn't just for show. It was all the setup for the most important moment. It was all to give weight to the question that Shakyamuni was about to ask. With literally all of creation as his witness, the Buddha issues a challenge. He explains that he's going to pass into nirvana, the end of his physical life. And in the difficult age that's going to follow, this teaching will be really hard to maintain. So he asks, who here will make the great vow to protect and to spread this sutra in that future, darker age? And to make sure that everyone understands the absolute gravity of what he's asking, he uses these incredibly powerful comparisons. He says, imagine you could pick up an entire world system and just hurl it to another distant universe. Even that incredible feat, he says, is not as difficult as teaching this sutra after he's gone. And he keeps going. He says, suppose you could literally grasp the empty sky in your hand and just walk around with it. A complete physical impossibility, right? Well, even that, he says, is not as difficult as writing the sutra down or even having someone else write it in the age to come. The difficulty here isn't physical, it's spiritual. And for the final, most striking image, imagine the fire at the end of a cosmic eon, a fire so hot it consumes entire worlds. Now, imagine walking right through that fire, carrying a huge bundle of dry grass on your back and not getting burned. The Buddha says even that is not as difficult as teaching just one phrase of this sutra to just one person in the difficult age to come. He brings it all home by tying it all together. To protect this sutra is to worship not only him, but Prabhutaratna and all the countless Buddhas assembled from every corner of the universe. He doesn't mince words here. This is a difficult matter, he says. This is not a casual commitment. You must make a great vow. And that's where the text leaves us, just hanging there in the air with those two Buddhas. That call to action wasn't just for that ancient assembly of gods and spirits. It was meant to echo through time, to reach anyone who would ever hear this teaching, and that includes us. And so the final question is posed to every reader in every single generation. Faced with the ultimate promise and the ultimate difficulty, who is brave enough to take up this vow?